Security here in the state of New Jersey. The food insecurity rate was 10.7% in New Jersey as compared to 13.5% in the US. We just got the updated figures for 2023. The bad news is those numbers went up. And they went up to an amount that was statistically significant. So this is not a problem that is resolving itself. The rate of food insecurity is higher among children, with over 163,000 experiencing food insecurity in New Jersey in 2022. We know that number went up slightly for 2023. We're waiting on the final figures from the USDA. But more importantly, we also see discrepancies amongst food insecurity. Black and Latino individuals and households experience food insecurity at higher rates than whites across New Jersey. And from 2018 to 2022, food insecurity in New Jersey has only gotten worse, changing from 8.7% overall and 11.3% among children to that figure from 2022 of 10.7% and 13.2%. So as I said, the situation is not getting better. And again, the 2023 figures only show increases. So this is an issue, as I said, that is not going away. So why school meal applications? As alluded to earlier, Governor Murphy signed the bill expanding income eligibility in January to 224% of the federal poverty line. We expect with that signing, an additional 60,000 students across the state will be eligible for free meals. This year's application also doubles as the application for summer 2025, summer EBT. And as Eddie mentioned, so far over 600,000 cards have been sent out. And we expect that final number is actually going to exceed 630,000 as they're still actually evaluating applications and sending out cards. So if you think about that, we have 1.3 million students enrolled in New Jersey public schools. So that means almost half of our students are qualifying for summer EBT, which, unlike school meals, is capped at 185%. So that means the number is going to be even bigger for school meals since the cap there is 224. Another thing to point out, for those of you that are working with school districts that are enrolled or opted into the community eligibility provision, the school meal application will also take the place of the household income forms, which is brand new for this year as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, and most significantly, applications have dropped since the end of COVID relief, and school meal debt has escalated. And that's something we really do need to reverse. Something that's also very exciting this year is New Jersey finally opted into the Medicaid direct certification pilot, and early results from the state are promising. So far, they've identified more than 49,000 additional students that will be eligible for free meals outside of that increase in that 224% of federal poverty. We now have this additional tool in getting students directly certified for school meals. So we're finding more and more students. We're making more and more students eligible across the state of New Jersey. Another interesting point is that New Jersey lags other states across the country into opting into the community eligibility provision. For those of you unfamiliar with community eligibility, for those schools and school districts that opt in, every child, no matter their income, has access to free, healthy meals. What that means is there is no more school meal debt because every child gets free meals, and it also reduces the stigma associated with the receipt of free meals. New Jersey as a whole is around 50% enrollment of eligible schools versus nationwide, it's closer to 80%. So we have a huge gap here in New Jersey, but we also have a huge opportunity. So in terms of food insecurity, working for the Office of the Food Security Advocate, we take a more holistic view and a more holistic approach to how we define food insecurity. Most people tend to think about food insecurity as basically an issue of access and availability, not being able to access or have the availability to safe and nutritious food. In our office, we actually use an expanded definition that looks at 6 different pillars of food insecurity, including agency, stability, sustainability, access, availability, and utilization. And based upon those 6 pillars, we've adopted a definition that is more reflective of the international approach to food insecurity. So for our team, food security, I should say, is a situation that exists when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Something that's really important to this team is that whole concept of agency and food preferences. We want to make sure that those food preferences include things that are culturally relevant, foods that are specific to a culture, to a religious need, to a dietary preference, such as those that may keep kosher or halal. It's not just making sure that food is available and accessible. It's about making sure that food is culturally relevant and meets the preferences for that family, for their lifestyle. So again, this is a much more holistic and inclusive definition. So let's talk a little bit about who qualifies for free meals here in the state of New Jersey. First and foremost, all children in households receiving benefit from SNAP and or TANF, which also is known by Work First. TANF is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. SNAP, of course, is our Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Some of you may remember it being called food stamps. In addition, foster children that are under the legal responsibility of a foster care agency or court, children participating in their school's Head Start program, and children who meet the definition of homeless, runaway, or migrant, and that would be covered under McKinney-Vento. Some of you may be familiar with that language. In addition to that, households that meet or fall below the income eligibility threshold. And finally, and this is important, especially among those of you in the faith-based community, there was a lot of fear and apprehension under the Trump administration about public charge, and the understanding that public charge may affect an immigrant's family's ability to be granted citizenship here in the United States. School meals does not fall under the public charge. There is no fear of repercussion. So I want to make sure that families know that they have nothing to fear in terms of residency status, in terms of citizenship status, in opting into the school meal program. And that's something that's very important for our immigrant families and our immigrant households to know. Now, this chart is an illustration of what those expanded income guidelines look like under expanded income eligibility. You'll notice for a typical family of 4, annual income is just short of $70,000. Now, here in New Jersey, $70,000 for a family of 4 is really not a lot of money. We all know that, especially in today's economy. But again, this is an increase of 25 percentage points from last year, where the old requirement, the old eligibility threshold was 199% of federal poverty. This number will change each and every year as the U.S. determines what the eligibility or what the federal poverty line is. So this will increase each year, and potentially there's always a chance that the government, the legislature, the governor could increase the eligibility beyond that 224%. But this is truly a step in the right direction. So again, this chart breaks it down by annual income, monthly income, by how our families are typically paid, so that a household can look at this chart and say, gee, I never qualified before, but based upon this, I might actually qualify. So it's really about building that awareness with households. So with the school meal application, one of the problems that we run into here in the state of New Jersey is, thanks to our desire for home rule, there is no statewide application for school meals. Every application is specific to the school district in which your children attend. So you literally have to go to your district website and find where that school meal application is. And it's not always easy. You might find it under a families or services or a departments tab. It might be under programs. You have to hunt around for it. I wish there was an easier way to find it. But we will say that doing it online is preferred over paper because of safety. if you decide to do that form by paper, and you send it to school with your kids, number one, there's a chance that your child doesn't turn it in. Number two, there's a chance that that paper form gets dropped or misplaced. And the next thing you know, all of this private and confidential data is being shown to the world. So again, that online application is always preferable over the paper application. We also want households to understand that one application will cover all children enrolled in the same school district. We know in New Jersey, we are famous for sending districts. So you may have your children in a district that covers your elementary schools, and they go to a different district for high school. If your kids are split between districts, you need to do an application for each district. Versus if you have kids in the same school district, you only need one application for all of the kids within that same district. Again, this can be a point of confusion for families, not understanding that each district needs its own application. So again, that's part of the communication and awareness that I'm hoping all of you will help us in building. So the school meal application itself, let's talk a little bit about that. I'm going to go ahead and bring that application up so that we can go step by step. So this is the paper version of the school meal application, and I'm going to bring everyone down to the actual application itself. These directions are universal. So whatever school district you're going to, the directions are going to be the same. But one thing I do want to point out, in most school districts, this form is available only in English. So for our families where English is a second language or that do not speak English, this form will be a challenge. We also know that there may be issues around literacy and financial literacy. So just because somebody has access to this form doesn't mean that they're going to understand how to complete it. So again, having folks like yourself going through this training today and understanding the requirements of this form and being able to offer your assistance is a true benefit to these households. But I do want to caution, as you are working with families, do not complete the application. It should be completed by the household with your assistance. On the second page of this form, it does require a signature attesting that all of the information is true, and that signature should be from the parent or from the household. So because you are not signing it, it really needs to be completed by the member of the household with your assistance. They are actually affirming and attesting that all of this information is correct. So starting off the top, you will see information specific to the school. If you are completing the form online, this information will already be completed. You will only need to hand print it if you are doing a paper form. Some school districts may give you a form with some of this data already completed, but if it is not, the individual completing the form will need to complete the school name and district name along with the address. So that's even before you get started with the form. For the form itself, and let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. We're going to start with step one, and we're going to go through all 4 steps of this form one at a time. Step number 1 is listing all children, infants, and students up to and including grade 12. Attach another sheet of paper if you need space for more names. So what I typically will tell families in completing this section is think about how you might complete your tax form. The purpose of step 1 is to determine how many people are in the household. Remember, eligibility is based upon income and household size. So we are trying to determine household size. We are also trying to complete an application for all of the children within a specific school district. So this is how the school captures that information. You will include the child's first name, middle initial, last name, the school they are attending, and the grade they are attending. Again, this is all children in the household, the same children that you would most likely include on a tax return. If the child is a foster child, migrant, runaway, or homeless, the corresponding box needs to be checked. Now, these children should automatically be certified for free meals. Sometimes it doesn't happen because the school doesn't have the data. So we need to supply them with that information. So again, all children up, newborns all the way up to grade 12 need to be included in step 1. If you have, let's say that you're taking care of a nephew or a niece, if they are in your household and you are providing support to them and you want and you need that person, or I shouldn't say you need, but if you are providing support to that person, they should be on this form. However, let's say that you are in a household and you are a single parent and you're raising your kids and your best friend is also living with you and raising their kids and you're splitting costs. In that instance, they would be 2 individual households because most likely you and your friend are filing separate tax returns. So again, always think back to that tax return as guidance in determining who you're going to list in step 1. So we then move on to step 2. Step 2 is, do any household members, including you, participate in SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR? First off, don't worry about FDPIR. We do not have that here in the state of New Jersey. So you're only going to complete this box if someone in the household is on SNAP or TANF. If yes, you need to include the case number. And that case number is not the EBT card number. It's the case number for either SNAP or TANF. Now, the nice thing is if you do this, you get to skip to step 4. If you don't, if you're not receiving SNAP or TANF, you must then go to step 3. And step 3 is where things can get challenging. Step 3, you're going to list all household members and income for each member before taxes and deductions. So this is gross, not net. This is gross income. And we're asking for 3 different types: earnings from work, public assistance, and pensions, retirement, and Social Security. This can be confusing. If we flip over to the next page, right at the top, sources of income. Earnings from work will include salaries, wages, bonuses, tips, commissions, net income from self-employment. If you are U.S. military, it will also include basic pay and cash bonuses, not including combat pay, FSSA, or privatized housing allowances. It will include allowances for off-base housing, food, and clothing. That's category 1. Under category 2, public assistance, alimony, and child support, including unemployment, workman's comp, supplemental Social Security, cash assistance, alimony, child support, veteran and strike benefits, category 2. And then finally, we have category 3, Social Security disability, private pensions or disability benefits, income from trusts or estates, annuities, investment income, earned interest, rental income, and regular cash payments from outside the household. It's a mouthful. And for someone not familiar with these categories, completing this form can be a challenge, which is why, again, we're reaching out to your organizations, to your faith-based organization, to help provide the assistance to these family members. So in step 3, we're going to list all adults. We're going to list their earnings from each of the 3 categories, and we're going to designate whether that income is weekly, every 2 weeks, twice a month, monthly, or annually. And again, for every single adult in the household, again, thinking back to that tax return, do I list them on the return? Are they contributing to the household? Making that determination, because just like in step 1, these are the folks that are going to determine the household size and ultimately income eligibility. You're then going to go beyond the grid and at the bottom, add up the number of adults and children, put that number here in the box. You're going to include the last 4 digits of the Social Security number of the primary wage earner or other adult household member. And this is applicable only if applying for school meals. So if you have a family that does not want school meals but are using this form to apply for summer EBT, you don't need the last 4 digits of the social. It's only if applying for school meals. If you are dealing with a household that does not have a social or has an ID, You're